can we agree that it's not just maybe the loud-mouthed people, but people who are good with technology who are driving opinion at the moment? I just want to have this follow-up question, like, what role do you think technology will play in the coming days? Not the campaign has passed, but in this era of post-truth Trump presidency, do you think that future? What would be the future of politics with tweets being written out like every second, and will that be the driver of policies now?
I'll talk about technology, but I'll take a slightly different angle on that, which is, I think, at the heart of geopolitics today. We were talking about the Quad, and we'll talk about, there's a whole set, the TTC with the European Union, for example, that India, Japan have. We have an India, Korea, US technology triangle. We have a rising number of geopolitical bodies that are coming up built around strategic technology, not around military structures, though there's a military element to this. What I see in the appointment of a person like Elon Musk, I don't know what he'll be in the Trump administration, but I suspect he'll be some sort of a senior advisor. Can't be a minister because I suspect he'd then have to give up his position, corporate positions. Is the rise of a new group of technological policy advisors who will take a look at this in a large degree of geopolitical context, which is who dominates, and I would argue this is really the heart of the Quad, which is what the four Quad governments agree on, is that China's game is not about military domination in the way that, let's say, a Russia does. It is about technological domination, i.e., how did America become a superpower and how did it retain that superpower position? It was, by the Chinese analysis, because America dominated technology. And from that derives its economic strength and its military capacity, even its soft power. So all that China has to do is replicate that. And at the same time, luckily for China, there is an enormous shift in technological developments taking place, whether it's green hydrogen, semiconductors, AI, quantum computing, synthetic biology, goes on and on. And all we have to do is be the world leaders in this. And then automatically, we don't even have to fight. We just automatically become the world's #1 power. And the Quad is a response to this, saying, no, actually, we are nervous about China, and we are not prepared to allow this to happen. And to some degree, the European Union, in a much more fragmented fashion, is doing the same thing. The CHIPS Act and the various acts that America has passed under Biden, and to some degree the promotion of the Quad under Trump before him, is all about a slowly redefining of American geopolitics around the issue of who dominates strategic technology and the supply chains associated with that. And this is why the liberal world order is falling apart, because that has nothing to do with the liberal world order. In fact, quite the opposite. It has to fragment a lot of the liberal world order, which was designed in a very different structure. The point is, China is doing the same thing. Decoupling is taking place, or de-risking is taking place on both sides. And then on top of that, a lot of governments big enough, like even Russia or India, are saying, within that, we also want to maintain a certain degree of national capacity. For example, semiconductor chips. Everybody wants to build semiconductor chips. I mean, a lot of them, no idea how they're doing it, but they're spending billions building chips. So everybody wants to do it. So you're going to see this enormous fragmentation, but on top of that, you're going to see a larger geopolitical division over supply chains and strategic technology. So technology will increasingly, it is already, I think, in many ways, the dominant geopolitical, underlying geopolitical focus of many major governments, and that will continue to rise over the next several decades, in fact.
If I could just make a point there, that traditionally, the way US society and politics is structured, individual businesses have played a major role in US politics, and there is a very well-structured system for their making contributions and other things. Some time ago, the US Supreme Court allowed parallel support structures to be set up so long as it didn't coordinate directly with the campaigns, then there was no limits to the amount of fund they could bring to the campaign. And therefore, the role of people with wealth, the role of businesses in influencing politics got enhanced. Now, in this phenomenon that you mentioned of Elon Musk, we see it taken at another level of a technology leader, a business leader, a person of wealth, playing a very direct and visible role in politics. Now, there are certain dangers there for the US itself, and at some stage, I don't rule out that there will be some kind of a pushback on this. For example, if you just look at Starlinks, Elon Musk used Starlinks to enable Ukraine to have connectivity to push back against Russian efforts in the beginning. And then after a while, he didn't want to do that anymore because he wanted Russia to be accommodated in some way. So here was one individual and his business and technology strength trying to enable influence on policy. Elon Musk, came to India, then cancelled a visit, went to China, and announced major investment in China. Now, with his close link to Donald Trump, to what extent will he want to influence the policy related to China? And that again become an open question. So, and then of course you have the administration. In the Congress, traditionally, there is usually a pushback against business domination. So we'll have to see what is the nature of US Congress and how do they push back on that. So there'll be dynamics at play, but it's not unusual for US business leaders to have a direct impact on US politics.
My follow-up question is then that, 51 billionaires supported Trump, whereas 81 billionaires supported Kamala Harris. It was Kamala Harris who was able to raise more money for her campaign. So, in a way, has big money been defeated in this election? I mean, like, we have example of Elon Musk, but then there were more billionaires on the other side.
No, but if there were 51 billionaires, they had only 51 votes. And 81 billionaires had 81 votes, so they gave the money. But ultimately, we've discussed the issues that impacted on the elections, and I'm sure that.
Professor Swaran.
I want to go back to technology, and just two things I want to share. I think it was in August that Foreign Minister gave a memorial lecture on 𝐏𝐫𝐞𝐬𝐢𝐝 Memorial Lecture, where he mentioned how AI potentially could become as ground-changing as nuclear revolution was at some stage. That changed the global geopolitics. Second, some of you may have seen Yuval Noah Harari's interview, where he says that 100 years from now, in 2124, nothing that we see around us will be like it is today. And all the hard work that we are doing in making mentions and buying technology and planning future would be completely irrelevant in that sense. So technology is exponentially transforming the whole world in that sense. And why I'm saying these two examples is more rapidly than we can imagine. Perhaps states and the politics, the way we understand it, itself going to become redundant. Because if individuals like Elon Musk can begin to negotiate between Trump, Xi and Putin, and then we are no longer talking of United States, China and Russia here. We are talking of an individual sort of shuttling between three individuals, and they are determining future trends in that sense. And that empowerment of individuals or cyborgs in the future could make us look back and laugh at the things we are discussing today in terms of what we think is going to determine our future. So technology in that sense is going to perhaps transform things way beyond we can imagine in terms of what technology is likely to do and to whether elections or social fabrics or political systems. These are some of the imaginations that some of these very credible people have been outlining. And so technology, therefore, may not necessarily be empowering nations. That is what we are discussing. They may be empowering individuals or empowering machines themselves.